Louisa, I hear you're the guest host today, so let's talk about it.
I am. I am.
Well, super Saturday to you, and welcome to Let's Talk About It. You are live on the air.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. And we are going to get started. And I'm so happy to be here this morning. I am here. Pastor Threlkel is out. And Jameca, he said I could be responsible for the show today. And so I'm here today. And I'm here with my co-host, Jameca Patrick. And we're going to talk about it. But before we get started, you know what? I want to start with Pastor Threlkel's favorite scripture. That's how we're going to start this today. And it's 2 Chronicles chapter 7. And you all should know the verse. It's 14. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin and heal their land. And I read that one because, like I said, that's Pastor Threlkel's favorite verse. And that was 2 Chronicles 7, verse 14. Mm-hmm. So here we are, Jameca. We're going to talk about it.
We are going to talk about it. Good morning.
It's been a busy week.
It has. There's been a lot going on. In Flint this week.
Where do you start?
Where do you start? I mean, so for me, the thing that's been on my mind and the thing that I know has been on a lot of people's minds based on, calls and text messages and internet activity has been the water. The water is, and it's funny because, you meet people from other places and they talk about, honestly, they talk about how since you've left office, people like they don't hear about the water anymore.
Some people think it's okay.
Some people think it's okay. And they don't know why we aren't still talking about it and keeping it in the forefront. Those who listen to your radio station know what's really going on, but other people don't. But all of a sudden we're seeing and we're hearing. And so that it's alarming to me because I know that it was never all the way okay. And so to start hearing about it means it's getting worse.
Right.
And so that's it.
Well, there was a meeting this week.
Mm-hmm.
There was a meeting this week with the EPA.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was Tuesday, I believe, over at Kettering. Mm-hmm. And that was an interesting meeting because it was almost like things had not changed. So the EPA was there. And I think, let me say this, the other alarming thing about that was many people didn't even know that meeting was taking place.
Yeah, because I wasn't aware of it.
Right. They didn't even know this meeting was taking
Mm-hmm.
place. And so a lot of residents, there's a hot spot in Flint. And it's over in the 6th Ward. I think it's around Concord Street. Mm. And, we've got 2 cases of Legionnaires and people's chlorine levels are testing low. Mm. So there's some water issues that have not gone away and seem to be coming back. So we were at a meeting Tuesday and it was a good turnout for the meeting because I know Councilwoman Burns, Arthur Woodson, they were going around in that neighborhood trying to inform residents. Now, why they had to inform residents, I don't know, because you didn't hear anything about it.
Right, nothing at all.
No, nothing at all. And so they were able to get some of the residents. And in fact, Stephanie, whose mom was diagnosed with Legionnaires, was there. And some of those residents who have bad testing were there, plus other concerned people around the city of Flint. So the EPA came in. And as soon as I got there, I remember saying, well, where's the media?
Right. Because as you're talking, I'm thinking, I didn't see it like, what?
Well, I said, this is already a bad sign because the media should have been there to cover that.
Right.
They should have been there to cover that meeting when you have Region 5, which we're in Region 5. They're out of Chicago. So it's the Great Lakes states here in the city to talk about what's going on with the water, and there was no media there.
So let me ask you this. So you were saying Stephanie's mom. So this is like a current case of Legionnaires.
Yes, 2 current cases.
2 current cases of Legionnaires.
Yes.
We're having chlorine, high chlorine.
And these are neighbors. These people are, in close proximity of each other.
That I mean, it's media worthy, but like we need to know.
I know.
So I guess we should test our water again.
Well, people need to, again. And we should have never stopped.
Right.
But so this meeting is going on, and it was almost like the EPA was. It was like when we were there. Things are okay. Somebody asked the direct question, can we drink our water from the tap? And they kept saying yes or no. Well, you could never get an answer.
It's yes or no. What does that mean?
Can we drink it? Yes, you can, or no, you can't. And they could never get an answer. It was never yes. A direct answer. So thanks. So, and that's what people wanted. And they said, well, out of an abundance of caution, we'll say this.
Oh, that sounds
so it was that kind of, right. And
then
they started telling us we needed to document. I said, excuse me? I said, document? I said, this has been documented.
Right.
This has been documented, back from... Really, we can say 2014,
right,
when people started noticing things.
What are we documenting now?
I said we can document new cases, we can document new information, but everything you all are asking for should be in place because it's been documented. And it's not like there's a new administration in office at their levels.
Right.
They have that information.
Right.
And the other thing that was interesting was they talked about the city, which that was fine because people haven't been informed.
Right.
People haven't finished having the pipes changed.
Right.
People, there are a lot of issues that the city is responsible for.
Right.
They talked about the state, which that's fine too, because the state didn't hold up their word and they played a major role in this. But I remember saying to them, I said, but you all were part of this too. We can talk about the city, we can talk about the state. Let's talk about you all too, because you were quiet. And so we talked about what their being quiet led to, which helped a water crisis, because you didn't speak up and speak out.
Right.
And we're looking for you all to have our back this time and stop telling us this nonsense. And so they said, well, yes, that was a black eye for the EPA. I said, it should have been.
It should have been 2 black eyes.
And but here's what really got us. The media finally shows up. It was one media person. I can't remember. I know they weren't from 12. 12 never showed up. And I would have to ask somebody else if it was 5 or 25.
Okay.
So the young lady comes. She's in the meeting. So we're thinking, good, because this will get out. And the meeting, there were so many questions that weren't answered that it's like, I can't believe you all got us here for this nonsense, because we've been through. You
gave us the talking points that we can give to you.
Exactly. It was that kind of thing. So I get up, I go outside. Councilwoman Burns is outside. There are several people that are outside, and the lady from the media is out there on the phone. She gets off the phone and says she has to leave. And so we said, you're not going to cover the story. You have the lady whose mom was diagnosed with Legionnaires. You have people that have their test results in hand. You're not going to cover the story.
You could talk to.
Okay, you know what she said? And she said this because she wanted us to know that she was told to go and cover a story about a dog.
Wait a minute. So,
I know we're still here. I know there's silence because once you say that, it's unbelievable.
I don't even have the words to. So basically, we have one media outlet, and instead,
she's told to leave.
And instead of talking to, hey, what happened with your mom? Hey, what's going on with your testing kids? Getting that information out there so that everybody in that area and all over the city can know. Go test that water. Be tested. The
local media
left
and said that they had to go and cover a story about a dog. So a dog was more important than residents of this city getting information about a basic human right, water that they, okay, you heard me.
It's sad, but what's even sadder is that I'm not surprised.
I'm not either.
I'm not surprised.
Because this was the problem when we were there.
Like deja vu.
Right. They wanted us to be quiet about the water.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that was part of my issue, was they wanted me to stop talking about the water.
Mm-hmm.
Because they said it interrupts, it bothers the local economy downtown. And it does.
Mm-hmm.
But if you fix the water,
then
if you do what's right, it wouldn't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't. So if you want that fixed, fix Flint.
Fix Flint. Flint. We're like that song. Flint ain't fixed. Fix Flint. And we don't want to hear about Flint fatigue, and we don't want to hear about
that's what
I
told them. I said, you know what? I said, and we've heard about Flint fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you don't have fatigue like we do.
Right. We are tired.
Right. We're the ones tired.
And this impacts our everyday lives. If we don't have a bottle of water in our house, we can't cook, we can't drink, we can't feed our kids, we can't brush our teeth. I'm tired of being
and guess what? There was
water.
somebody else there, and I can't remember what group she was from. But you remember when that spill happened
Mm-hmm.
in the Flint River, and she was talking about that, because remember, nothing was ever put up about that.
Mm-hmm.
And people, she said, and people need to know, because people are fishing out of the Flint River,
Mm-hmm.
and there should have been a notice to don't eat that fish,
right,
because of that spill. And once again, the city never informed. We were told everything is okay. And I remember we were downtown, and Lynette was with me,
mm-hmm.
and somebody was fishing, and we rolled down the window, and we were having that conversation
Mm-hmm.
with them. And they said they were just doing it for sport. And we said, we hope so,
Mm-hmm.
because
you can't eat the fish.
Can't, right.
And people need
and so they brought that up as well.
And you shouldn't have to feel compelled to roll down your window and try to flag people down.
Well, and it shouldn't have been left up to people walking through the neighborhood. Like I said, I know Councilwoman Burns was walking through that neighborhood. That's her area.
Mm-hmm.
Art was walking through that neighborhood. Mm-hmm. They were giving people information mm-hmm. about the water, because that was the only way it was getting got.
That is.
Can you say that, getting got?
You can. That is, I guess, because of what we've gone through. And when you go through something, you learn a lesson. There's always a lesson. You're supposed to learn a lesson. And it's one of those things that we don't ever want to go through it again, but we should know what to do.
And EPA should know,
I believe,
and the city should know.
And
don't blow smoke up our behind.
And I'm not saying we should know, or they should know. They do know.
Right.
They know. But here we is, politicizing the lives of Flint residents.
Well, putting profit over the health and well-being once again.
Putting profit over people, profit over public health.
Mm-hmm.
We know what's going on, but you're scared to say something because you don't want it to turn into a big deal. But it is a big deal.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
And for Legionnaires to be back, that's frightening.
It's terrifying.
So you wonder how long has this been happening? Mm-hmm. Because once again, people were diagnosed with pneumonia when it was as a result of Legionnaires. Mm-hmm. So here we go. But what this makes me think about, Jameca, is why we haven't used some of those ARPA funds. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go back to those ARPA funds too, because all of that goes together.
It does go together.
Because we've had some money sitting there since last May.
I was going to say, not even this May. Right, 2021 May.
Right.
And I know because it was been sitting there since my brother's birthday, May 19th. that's what I remember. And you want to know
your brother's birthday where the ARPA funds came.
And you want to know the sad part? That brother whose birthday is the brother, if you recall some years ago when my brother was in the hospital with Legionnaires, he was in his 20s at the time, and they didn't think he would make it through the night, and he still struggles with issues and things like that. And so I tie it all together in my head, because we should be using that money to prevent those types of things from happening. We should
be using those monies for a whole lot of things. We should. Oh, you said crime.
Crime.
Well, that's true.
Crime. Every time somebody's child was murdered or shot in the city of Flint, and I knew that money was sitting there and we could have been using it for public health. Public safety. I'm sorry. I was more and more infuriated.
Right. And we should have been using it,
Mm-hmm.
because you always have that in the back of your mind. Could lives have been saved?
Mm-hmm.
Could this community be safer
Mm-hmm.
if those funds had been used?
And I believe yes. I mean, we probably couldn't save every life, but I believe we could have saved a lot of lives, especially when you get reports like I called 911 and no one came, and then they came back and shot the house up again. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Or
I
you're put
believe
on
yes,
hold.
or you're put on hold. Mm-hmm. So I believe yes, lives could have been saved.
And so, and you know what? I'm gonna tie it to also what's going on now, even when we talk about the water.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about the water, I remember when we were on 9-10 a.m. I don't know if you remember. We had Dan Kildee came on, Congressman Kildee came on. He talked about ARPA funds, and one of the things he talked about was you can be creative with how you use them.
Mm-hmm.
And so we talked about public health, we talk about blight, we talk about the streets, but there are other ways that those funds could be used as well.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about it. And I'm sometimes, and we've talked about this as far as people's in-home plumbing, fixtures, appliances. The state failed us, but we have funds where we could be helping ourselves with this.
Absolutely.
That's something I would just love to do when we go back. I want to do that. There are other things, because it said be creative. Some people may say, you know what, my in-home plumbing is fine. I had newer plumbing in my home, or that's something I spent some money on. But did you hear about our consumers bills going up? So consumers is going up, and some people it's their roof. Some people it's their windows because air is coming in. Some people said my doors, you can just feel the breeze, the draft. I mean, how come we couldn't help people with those kinds of things?
And with consumers going up, what does that?
And you've been off of work. You've been off of work because of COVID. You lost your job. Things shut down. I can't pay the consumer's bill I have right now. And that was because of COVID. It was as a result of that. So why haven't we used those monies to help people?
Right. I mean, it was a direct. Building materials went up 3 times. So if I could have in 2019 got a new roof, if I could have afforded it then, I can't afford it in 2022. So all of that, and like you said, the congressman said that we could be creative.
He said, "Be creative."
So why can't we help people?
We can.
So,
but you have to have somebody there that wants to help people, that cares. I mean, because you have to care to want to do those things. And not caring and campaigning are 2 different things.
Absolutely. So let me go back to something that you just said.
Go back.
Because you said that one of the things that you want to do is in-house plumbing. And I know you didn't have to tell me you wanted to do that, because I knew that. I've been hearing you say that. We've been having
that argument since the beginning.
Yes. And so it's funny because you've been saying people need in-house plumbing. We need to replace the things that happen in people's homes as a result of the water. Now we have the COVID and we have all of these things happening. And I remember you wanted to do it, and there was, the money wasn't there to do it. And so, the
state made some promises that were not kept.
I remember that too.
So,
and they had started doing the fixtures, and then they stopped.
They did it for a year. They gave us $4,000 for 1 year, and it was supposed to be $4,000 each year for 3 years, and we knew that wasn't even enough. And so that's why I'm saying there could be different ways that money could be utilized. It could be for that. It could be to help people because we know they don't have the finances to be able to get new windows. Your roof is leaking. Winter's getting ready to come. We know we're in Michigan. Come on, it's going to be cold.
So those are some of those things that you would like to do?
Yeah. Why not?
And that's good. I'm thinking of calls you get, or you riding down the street, you see folks with, a tarp over their roof, and people don't know where to go to be able to get these types of things, and building materials costing so much, and all of these things. So I think that that is thought provoking for me, because it's like, we should be doing that, and I can't wait until you go back, and so we can have the opportunity to see quality of life in our city improve, people be able to get
Well,
what
you know
they
what,
need.
you sound so excited, and I think you're excited. Listen to me. Well, because you were chief recovery, and you were hearing from people about what does recovery look like, and it might look like this. And it could look different in one ward, depending on where you live. But we were having those kinds of conversation about what does recovery look like to you.
And people were talking about that. They were talking about their in-home plumbing. They were talking about being able to, pay the bills. They were talking about the need for like those long-term solutions. They were talking
and those
about
are long-term solutions. I mean, you get in-home infrastructure fix, that's 20-25 years. You get a new roof, it's that same long-term investment into your home and into your community, new windows, those kinds of things. Those are long-term investments, and those are the things that make people feel good, and they're important. They're important,
and it increases property values, pride in the community. Like it's a trickle up.
Well, so do new streets. So do new. I mean, really, I remember being on the south side. I can't remember what street we were on, but it was over by Brennan Center. One rainy day. It was over by Brennan Center, and we had repaved the street, and it was an older lady, and she said it just made the whole neighborhood look better.
Yeah.
And how, she said it makes the houses look better, everything. And it was just repaving the street.
Yeah.
But you know what I just thought about? I have to go back to something for a minute, because we were talking about the EPA, and we were saying how the media was not there. We should have had 810 media there.
Yeah, we should have. we gotta take our own media networks with us.
We should have taken. We should have told 810 media to show up, because that was something that it's disturbing that people were not informed about these things. Well, people aren't informed about crime around this city as well. I've talked to a lot of people in neighborhoods. We said we should have had 810 media over there at the EPA meeting to get this information out. I mean, really, that to walk up, I know I'm going back, but to walk up, and there's no media there. And we're talking about Region 5 from EPA is here, and I know I backtracked. But I just thought about it.
You know what? Because we are traumatized and devastated, and we need to know. Give us the information. You know that old saying, knowledge is power, and give us the information so we can know what to do. You know what I mean? I need. Now I'm thinking you're talking, and I'm check marking people in my head. My mom, my aunts, my dad. Like, who do I need? People that I need to go and test their water.
Right.
And y'all had a couple questions like that in the chat too.
Okay.
They were asking that.
Should they get their water
test?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you got us more strong. Dominique saying, when is the next regional meeting?
We don't, Dominique. We don't know. But we sure will let you know if we find out. I mean, we found out by happenstance, and that's something that should have been on the news. It should have been. And when we got there, I saw one sign up that said EPA, but that was as you turned into the driveway. And really, they should have had signs at least in that neighborhood to let people know. If you couldn't put them around the city, you should have put them at least in that neighborhood, like they do for block club meetings. And EPA did not do that. And it was funny because somebody even read what Chia had written, Chia Morgan, because we talked about that lack of boil water alert and how we were informed about that after it was over.
Yeah.
Who put the warning out there for us?
We put the warning out there.
Right. It was on social media. It came out of Detroit.
Yep. And I say we, and I was having that conversation with someone. I would say, if not for social media and the fact that your social media network is broader than like your neighborhood,
right?
So it's people saw the warning in other communities,
right?
And shared it and reposted it, and like you said, Chia put something up, and so by the time our local government
made a statement,
by the time the city made a statement, It was 12 minutes after Chia's statement. They responded to Chia and they made a statement. And they were saying, oh, we wanted to make sure we had information. The other communities had information because they gave it to us. So that's how. So there was information, number one. And number two, eat out of, and I'm going to go back to that statement they always use, out of an abundance of caution. We should have gotten the information anyways. Even if the information said, hey, something happened, there's a big boil water alert, we don't know all of the information, but out of an abundance of caution, change that filter and boil the filter water for the time being.
And none of that information was shared.
And that didn't happen.
And there are some people that know to do that because we've been through this, but there are some people that don't know that. There are some people that are new to this area.
And let me say this.
What?
When you spend 3 years of not talking about it and trying to act like everything is okay, even people who knew to do it are thinking, oh, we're good now because I don't hear it anymore. There's no report every Monday on the website, on the city's website like there used to be.
Well, I got a trick question for you. This from afterwards. Didn't you have a blackboard?
Yes.
He said, Mayor, nigga never used the
blackboard. So let me talk
about the blackboard. Here we go. That's right.
Of work
there was a lot of
the
work.
Blackboard. And what the blackboard was, for people who don't know what it meant, it was like, you know when there's like an Amber Alert or something happens and we get an alert on our phone, or like maybe a couple years ago we were supposed to turn our air down and Consumer sent an alert through all of our phones. The blackboard was a system that we had worked on really, really hard. To be able to have an alert go through everybody's phone when there was something happening.
Come right on your
and it could have come if there was something in your neighborhood,
but
it wasn't in my neighborhood, you would have gotten it.
Exactly.
But if it was something citywide, we all would have gotten it. Whomever it impacted.
We were excited. We were excited about it.
And as you see, I'm excited talking about it. And
so we're going to be mad in a minute.
Well, what happened was, because I feel it. What happened was, so we had got the blackboard together, and then the election happened, and we all know what happened in the election, and we weren't there anymore. And they never used the blackboard. And from what I'm hearing from folks who were at this particular neighborhood meeting, it was Arthur Woodson who said, why didn't you guys use the blackboard system that Mayor Weaver's administration had put into place? And he was told, oh, we let the license expire.
Ooh, let me look out the window.
He let the license expired. And so we don't have a system that we spent time, energy, and resources into.
That was money spent.
Yeah,
that was money spent because you got paid to do it. That was part of your job.
Yeah.
And so
that was public health purposes, though.
Well, we don't have public health. So.
Yeah, we don't have a public health department anymore.
Not at the city, we don't. You know, we had Dr. Pugh, we had Jameca Patrick, we had the health navigators under public health, and we also had in public health. I don't know why I always have to add this because people think physical health all of the time, but it was mental health as well. Mm-hmm. I know Dominique is listening because we talked about that with her one day. About the mental health that's been dismantled.
Yeah, I mean,
someone took a sledgehammer, boom, 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 broke it.
I think the navigators are still there, but I think it's important for people to understand when you say, well, the navigators are still there. The navigators that were there, the way the system, because I don't know who's there, so I'm not saying the actual physical navigator person, but the way the navigator system worked when you were in office is that they were led by the public health department. So the public health team. So there was, like you said, myself, Dr. Pugh. And so when something like this happened, you had somebody, because Dr. Pugh she's a public health expert.
Remember, and you all were working with Dr. Lawrence.
Dr. Vicki Lawrence. We had people with, doctorate degrees in public health whose life work was all about public health. And so they would help to guide.
So we would never put profit over the health and well-being of the people again. That was
we had public health in our policy.
Right.
And so when these types of things happen, we had a system in place. And I'm going to tell you what it reminded me of. It reminded me of when President Obama was in office and he had that emergency response team, and I may be saying the wrong name. And then when President Trump came into office and he dismantled it, and then all of a sudden we got COVID, nothing that any of us expected, not even him, I'm sure. But that system wasn't there.
Right.
And that's what happened in our own.
And there are some systems that we do need to bring back, that need to be put back in place. You know, some people say, what will you do differently? Some of it, you want to put some of those things back in place, because that was different, to have public health right there at the city, to have economic development right there at the city. That was huge, because really that ties to public health. When you have economic opportunity, when you have jobs that pay, where you can take care of your family and you don't have to have 2 and 3 jobs, when you have health insurance as a result of these jobs, that's public health. You know, I got insurance. You know, I can go to the doctor.
I can go to about it. Every lump and bump and pain I feel, so, I don't have to stress.
Some of these things need to be put back in place, not just public health. I know I always ask what was Sean's position.
He was the director of community recreation.
But that needs some of those are important. We just had a basketball camp. We were doing that with Jeff Grayer. And to see those kids, the first day it was about 300 kids. The next day we had little kids. It was about 150, 100, something like that. But that's part of something that, you know,
community recreation.
Exactly. And the importance of that, and to see these kids having fun together and playing together and meeting new kids and their parents there, and you're talking with them and sharing information. Some of those things need to be brought back.
Absolutely.
I mean, how do you get rid of economic development in the city of, how do you do that? Why do you do that?
Why would you want to do that?
That's a good question. And not have Flint focus, you know, and when I say Flint focus, I mean past downtown.
Because when it comes to economic development, there's a lane and a road for everybody. Flint. I'm not saying that the other entities that deal with economic development shouldn't, because we need it with their spaces too. But our space in the city of Flint, we should have a strong
and it's the largest city in the county. And if Flint does well, other communities
absolutely
they do better.
And we need all of Flint to do well.
We need exactly.
I love that what you just said, because somebody put that what you just said about small business opportunities.
Right. I mean, you think about what that does for you, and what that does for your family, and what that does for your whole area.
Your whole area. And Lynette Phillips.
Yes. Economic
Development, small business, that's her thing. We all know it. And I remember her saying to me, every family should have a business. You can't pass a job down to your kids. You can pass a business down.
You sure can.
You can get your kids working for you. You can build generational wealth. You can build generational wealth. And you know,
but you have to have those kinds of
opportunity
to resources, opportunity for information. I've been talking to some people, and they said they always find out after it's not available to them.
Yeah.
And so how do you get access to this information? Yeah. So, you know, we've been having those kinds of conversations. And I'll tell you, I mean, I've been out in a lot of different places. I was over on the east side the other day, and they were having the same conversation that people over on the north side are having. Where are those opportunities for us? How come we're not able to build in our community and enhance our community and have resources? And how come we don't know about things? And you can go to another area in the city and you'll hear the same thing. How come we don't know? How come we don't get? How come we don't have access? And so those are some of the things that we need to put back in place, and then look at, there are going to be some new things as well. But I mean, those were things that were important, and believe it or not, and we believe it because we know it and we saw it. Those were things, when we talk about crime reduction, that help reduce crime.
You know what?
What?
It's like you're reading my thoughts, because you know what I was thinking? I was thinking crime and the impact of crime with all of this. And the fact, because I remember, and I just shared a post, right? Because it was 810 day, and I remember that Adrian, your daughter, was the first person to bring the 810 day to Flint, and and I was looking at that the first year we had 810 day on downtown. On the north end, we had that event over there with Corey Wise from the Central Park 5.
That's right.
Exonerated 5. He was over there the same day. And it came back on my timeline, and I was thinking about how I was so happy that day because we had this big event on the north end, and people were walking and coming there, and then we had this big event downtown. And as I drove, because I was coordinating the North End event, and Adrian was coordinating the downtown event, and after the event that I was coordinating, I drove to downtown, and I remember I was so excited because you were pushing us to do all these events and make sure everybody get, and we did it the same day. And I remember she and I talking about it, and we did it, and I drove through the city that day, and there was so much happening, and it was so exciting, and there wasn't crime. Well, I mean, there was crime. Crime was down a lot.
It was fun. Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. Crime was down for our whole city. People were starting businesses. Things were growing. Things were happening. It was like a buzz.
We had those pop-up shops as well, and that was making sure. And we had the small business boot camps.
And it was so I started.
And I think we did 3 of those small business boot camps.
Yeah, and that was and we had the resource fair, and everything was happening in Flint, and we were moving in such a positive direction.
Right.
And so
people want that.
People want that.
And people deserve it.
And it does help. It helps bring crime down when people are proud and getting together and getting to know each other. And
we talked about, since I've been out, I've seen people that still have those beautification signs up in their yard. And they've talked about that and how much that, he said, you see, I was with somebody, took a picture with that beautification sign. And somebody asked me the other day, are you going to bring that back? I said, yes, yes. Because people do take pride in their neighborhood and in their home. And I saw that post you made one day about, what was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago when we were cleaning up? I think she was complaining about me.
Listen,
she talked about me.
We did these cleanups every other weekend. We did these cleanups, and this particular day, it was
who was we? I mean, it wasn't. We had a blight department.
We had a blight department, and the blight department was out there doing the cleanup. Raul was there.
Betty Whiteman would send her crew.
Yep. But it was also
staff,
on the department. Sometimes we had these little friendly conversations.
I was with you all.
You were out there cleaning up for real.
And they were saying, we thought this was once a month. I said, it was.
Now it's every other weekend.
I mean, because it had such huge impact.
And
you felt so good afterwards.
Good.
And so did the people in the community. One time let me tell you, we were over on, you remember Fleming Road? By the time it was clean, we saw a fence that had a mural. Didn't even know it was there. So it was just, and okay, it makes me go back to those ARPA dollars that have been sitting there that we could be not only cleaning. Let's talk about, you see that?
Yep. I'm getting pictures on my phone right now
of the
beautification.
But I mean, you think about those ARPA dollars that have been sitting there, and they could be used for that.
They could be used for that.
And I'm going to tie that back to we can talk about crime. We can talk about mental health with it. I mean, because a nice environment does help your mental health. It impacts how you feel about yourself and about your space. And it lets people know that they are cared about and that they're important. And so that needs to be done. And it helps reduce crime when you're cleaning places and spaces up. And then we could build up. I mean, we need to be building in this community.
We do.
We need some homes in this community. We've been doing good with apartment building, but people want, single family dwellings too. People want to live not just downtown. People want to live in a neighborhood. They want to live by a school, and they want to build up their community. And if we're only tearing down,
how are we building up?
Right. And there are some homes that you could fix up. There are some that need to be torn down, but there's places we could be building homes in neighborhoods. And that's what we should be doing and stabilizing areas. And I just haven't seen that happening. And I haven't heard I haven't heard anybody asking and fighting and advocating for that on behalf of us.
Right. Because those are the things that we need. Those are the things that we need.
Mm-hmm.
That and can I know that and I know I keep going back to crime because crime is a big deal because I'm scared. I'm scared to leave the house.
Yeah. Okay.
And my mother is scared to leave her house, and that bothers me.
Right.
So crime, because crime was down and now crime is up tremendously, and it's not being reported. People aren't coming out. We get phone calls. People caught. They're shooting again.
I've heard that everywhere I've been walking. You hear gunshots all the time. You see cars flying down these streets. You know, people are scared for their kids to be out playing. I mean, they're scared for their kids to be out playing.
And people are desperate because they know they're not going to get any response, so they're calling other people. Hey, can you call somebody?
Right.
You know, we're getting those kind of things. That's ridiculous.
I think that's part of why that basketball camp was so successful, because I was talking to some parents and grandparents, parents, and they were saying, you know, I'm scared for my child to be out in the front yard playing. I'm scared about shooting. I'm scared about cars flying down the street. And kids aren't, you know, looking for that. They're out there to have fun, like kids should do. And so they were able to bring them here. I said, oh, I know they're going to sleep good tonight. And so they really, really enjoyed that. And they knew they could leave them and everything was okay.
And talk about the little girl who didn't bounce the ball the whole time she was there.
This little girl, she was the cutest little thing. She was 4 years old and she didn't bounce not a basketball. She's at basketball camp. She was doing flips and cartwheels and round-offs and all back bends. And I said, are you having fun? She said she was having a good time. Now, her brother had been there the day before. He played basketball. But this little girl was at basketball camp, and she's just doing flips all around the gym. But I think it was she had the space to be able to do it. And how did she learn?
She learned from YouTube.
From YouTube. She was watching YouTube videos and teaching herself.
But it was two things that I got from that. Number one, we need those programs that you're implementing. We need that director of community recreation, because imagine if that little girl had a coach.
Right.
That little girl can go to those.
Because they start learning at that age. Whether it's the gymnastics, you know, some of those, all of those kinds of sports, golf, any of them, they start that when they're little. And this little girl was good.
And the other thing, I
don't know if she ever played basketball.
She did the whole time,
but she had space to just
around the perimeter
right, to do these things that you don't have at home. That kind of space.
Well, the other thing, though, Mayor, is that she was. That's one of the reasons why, like you talked about, the success of the camp. She, like you said, she felt safe. It brought the community together. It wasn't just about.
And we need to give a shout out to the Pistons.
We do need to give a shout out to the Pistons, because they had a player there, and a current and a former player. They were taking pictures. They were giving tips and techniques and interacting. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was
Jeff
beautiful.
Put a lot of work into
and Jeff put a lot of work into
and
that.
It showed. I mean, they were. Listen, from the Pistons, they were they said, this is wonderful. I mean, they couldn't believe the turnout. I said, and they came yesterday. And I said, if you had been here
the day before,
it was 300 kids.
Well, you know what? So they fed the kids, and they had bounce house. They had a DJ.
They had Wayne the barber.
They had Wayne the barber there. They had the snow cone machine outside. But they also, across the parking lot, had a food giveaway.
Yes.
And then, so there were cars just coming in, getting food and leaving. There were a couple of kids that I know, and they walked up. They came in, gave me a hug. I said, how y'all get here? They live in the neighborhood. They can see the bounce houses and stuff.
So
and
they just
walked.
came.
Yeah, they walked.
It was,
and nice. They were able to eat. When I saw them, they were eating and they were playing. The kids got basketballs, bikes.
Yeah.
It was really organized. It wasn't like a chaotic, but it was a lot of kids. They were doing basketball drills. was nice.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things, and it made me I was happy, but you know how you get that feeling in your heart, like, oh, because I remember when we had city-wide basketball. It reminded me of that.
Right.
And
I was talking to them. I was letting them know some of those other things. How this was partnered with the Pistons. We had partnered with the Detroit Tigers, if you remember, to bring baseball. What is it? The nation's favorite pastime. To bring back baseball. I'm sorry, to bring baseball back. And we were working with U.S. Conference of Mayors and the Detroit Tigers. And the Jackson Park crew. And fixing up the park and just seeing it was boys and girls learning baseball. Yes, we did get fit.
And listen, I'm
another complaint.
Because not only were we out every other weekend doing cleanups and sweating my hair out, we were also every Friday we had Get Fit Flint Friday.
And what was wrong with that?
There was nothing wrong with Get Fit Flint.
You can't even say
it.
Get Fit Flint Friday. Because the goal of it was to make sure that everybody that kids in Flint and families in Flint could, have access to exercises and doing things fun without a lot of cost. So we were like hula hoop, play Foursquare. Foursquare was the whole thing.
Right. We played, 2 square, 4 square,
4 square,
jump rope, just
Morris Peterson.
To me, that was like community
It
engagement.
was. I remember Morris Peterson coming and bringing his girls, and we were out there playing. And
then we made them hula hoop.
Yeah, they hula hooped with us, and
but it was low cost. There were things that you did growing up that we've gotten away from. And
I was the complainer.
I can tell. That's what I do. I see that it's like we're missing that, but how can we get people to come back?
So for me, leadership is important, and so to me, it starts at the top. And so when you have a person in office and sitting in that mayoral seat that is about making sure that our physical health and mental health and emotional health, because if you think about everything that we've talked about, it all ties in: crime, mental health, physical health, definitely, emotional health, housing, physical health, mental health, emotional health, water, physical health, mental health, emotional health, and even exercising and getting out into the community, having a community that looks nice. One of the I just said it. I complained about having to be out there. I didn't complain all the time. I complained on tailgate weekend, but one of the things that I loved about the cleanups is that even driving down the street days later, people would, you clean up a neighborhood and you will see the neighbors trying to keep it up. And that made you feel good. That's mental health, to go to live in a space that looks nice. Don't nobody want to live next to trash. And we would go, I remember we went this one weekend and there was this pastor and he had been trying to get somebody to clean up this lot.
Yeah.
Remember?
That's off of Fenton Road.
Yeah,
off of Fenton Road,
and we were able to get that done.
And they were serving people lunch that day because it was like a soup kitchen there, and the people that were in there being fed came out and helped.
Yeah, I remember that, and those are the types of things. It all ties together. Public health and all of this. This isn't a talking point. This isn't a the word of the day. And it starts with leadership. And for me, I always appreciated the fact that you cared about the holistic well-being of Flint residents.
Well, we were also doing mindfulness.
Oh,
yeah. Because as far as when you talk about mental health, because mental health is it's just so important, and so many times it either gets overlooked or we don't want to talk about it.
Right.
We don't want to talk about it. And when you've been through and I shouldn't even say through, when you are going through a crisis, and it's a public health crisis, it's a water crisis, it was an economic development crisis, and then here comes another public health crisis. Your mental health is important.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what was so nice. You know, they were talking about yesterday, these kids were in 3rd grade, some of them. And so for 2 years, things have been shut down as far as schools. 1 minute you're there, 1 minute you're not. It was just very different the way school was and how kids could interact with each other. And so this was one of those times where they really got to run around and play and be kids and just enjoy themselves.
You would see them going to the gym and seeing their friend. Hey, running
they
around.
had music outside. So it was a nice thing. And people may think that's not important, but when those things are taken away, when recess isn't there, that's important. And you see a difference in behavior, attitude, outlook, grades, all of those things, behavior. So it was just important to do those kinds of things. But I'll tell you something else that helps with those things is media. That is informing the community and letting people know these kinds of things are happening and what is important. So I'm saying that again because I guess when things are going on, we need to let you know. Because, I mean, really, I'm going to go back to people not knowing about the EPA, people not knowing about what's going on with their water. I mean, you know, there's a billboard downtown, that electric one, the electronic billboard. On Mondays, we would put up the number of pipes that have been changed. And right now it's like 2,500 pipes still haven't been changed. Restorations have not been changed. I mean, fixed. That's
so that would go up on Mondays downtown.
And a press release would
go out, and the city's website, it was interactive where you can go in and you can find out where they were, how many have been done, and all of that. And I know. Because if it wasn't up by 12:01, you would listen. Trust me.
I had a lot to say if it wasn't up. And that's all it is.
And I was making sure it was up because I didn't want the accountability coming back. So yes, it was important, but it was important. I mean, you know, I'm making that joke, but it was important, and it wasn't one of those things. It was one of those things that the community relied on. And it's one of those things that I wish that we still had.
And I wish we still had. I'm just going to be honest. One of the things we asked to stay in place was that FWIC meeting where people from the city, people from the state, whether we were talking about the State Board of Education, at that time it was MDEQ. We had the EPA there. We had scientists, we had engineers, we had health people at the table to talk about where we are with the water. And they could hear us argue with each other because Snyder had his folks there. Sometimes Snyder was there. They could hear how we were pushing. While they could not physically sit in there, we live streamed it so people could hear what was going on. And we were doing those meetings monthly. We asked for that. I know that was in that open letter that I put in there as we left office, was for those kinds of things to continue to keep the community informed. I remember talking about that $25 million that they said they found that we had already put in the letter was there at City Hall because we wanted to give people water credits. And now you can get $300, Jameca.
You know what?
So I want to ask
what
about $300.
That's not enough.
But I'm
that's and so this is Jameca talking. That is a slap in the face and a political ploy to make people think you're doing something that you're really not doing. That's like me trying to
campaigning with ARPA funds.
It's campaigning with ARPA funds. That's like me pulling $10 out of my purse trying to impress you with something when really I got 500 and I was supposed to give you 400 of that. You know what I mean? Fix a roof. Put some more police on the streets. That's how you would impress me. Give water credits that are substantial.
I think it's $300 and you got a bill.
You still have, right.
You got
it won't go right. It doesn't. What does that do?
And
why did you wait until now?
Why didn't we
help?
Get as many?
And that's why we're saying you can be creative with these ARPA dollars. Help people. It's getting ready to be wintertime. it's going to be cold.
Winterize some
Consumer
houses. Winterize some houses. You got folks out here with 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 kids, and they living in housing with, like you said, CP windows, and they need a roof, and their consumer bill. Help people so that they won't have to struggle, so that they won't have to pick between paying their rent and paying their consumer's bill, or paying their consumer's bill and buying food for their babies.
What about their medication? Do I get food or do I buy my medicine?
Right.
I mean,
right.
what do I do?
We have an opportunity to help.
And I can tell you, and the federal government is looking to see how those funds are being spent. And how did you wait a year and almost a half to spend money, and you are a community in need?
In need. Always in need. We don't have. We need.
This is what I want to know. Because I seen what Derek Smart just put down.
Hey, Derek.
I got to ask.
Hi, Derek.
How are the people steady falling for the hot dogs, the popcorn, the pops? Because honestly, I know y'all grocery shop for y'all when I do it.
Yeah, I was going good save.
With $300,
right?
You can go buy groceries. Have they been to the grocery store?
Apparently not since 2020. Groceries are up about 50%.
I've been trying to get that. I was hearing a couple calls of people. I ain't gonna say their name, like Horsey Murphy. He said $300. You can go do this. Do you know what gas costs?
Right.
If people really gonna save this $300,
listen, you're not gonna see that $300.
Thank you.
That's not a good save. Groceries are up about 50%. It's ridiculous. Groceries are up.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Gas is up. Rent is up. Everything's up.
Yeah. That's a whole nother show.
I was looking with Councilwoman Tanya Barr said that the 300 is not used as a payment; it's a credit. So
right,
bill, so it don't help to cut off your shut off. Yeah, you don't even get it if your bill ain't up to date. Right?
What?
I said, I'm not for sure. That might be allegedly. I'm just saying, don't you got to be up to date, or is that just?
I don't know.
All I know is $300 is not enough.
Right, it's not enough, and it's a day late and a dollar.
It's a day late and $300 short.
Ooh.
Yeah. But ain't you gonna borrow some money though?
I don't know. This is what I know.
Because we've got 2 minutes.
I know that that's not enough. I know that crime is up. I know that I cannot wait for you to go back in office and help people have an increased quality of life. And I'm done because I know you had to close out.
Yeah.
Well, what, is there something else?
You got a minute and 30 seconds to close it out.
Oh, wow, we've got a minute and 30 seconds to close this out. But you know what? We're going to continue to bring information to the people. First, let me give a shout out to you, 810 News Media, because you are helping the community. And this is a service that we need to bring people accurate information. Accurate, truthful, honest information. Doesn't happen much. And so thank you for that opportunity to help spread this.
Quickly, shout out to the Special Olympics. I know you were
I was
there
at the
yesterday.
Special Olympics. It was a wonderful way to end the day.
Yes.
I mean, it made your heart.
Yeah.
I mean, it just warmed your heart to be there and be part of that. And I love it. I love it. And so, yeah, I was there. We know the Crim is going on.
And you were giving out the medals yesterday.
Yes, I sure was. And so I just want to thank everybody for tuning in this morning. I need to say, Pastor Threlkeld, thank you for letting me host your show. And I hope we did okay by you. He'll be back next Saturday hosting again. But Jameca, thank you. It made me feel like when we were doing the radio show, Jameca came on with me a lot. And so I hope everybody has a great weekend, and we will be bringing you some more information about what's going on in the city of Flint. Is there anything else we need to say? I mean, where are we, Mickey?
Vote for you.
Vote. And I'm asking for your support. Election is coming up. Vote. Your vote is your voice. Your vote is your power. If you want to do it by mail, you can get absentee applications and fill those out. But don't forget to vote.
Vote for Karen Weaver, a mayor who cares about you.
No doubt. They cut us off on that.
You said they cut us off on that. I want to thank the Facebook audience for tuning in as well. Thank you. Your participation is important. So we thank you as well. Thanks, 810, Mickey.
Thank you for getting the information to the people.
I wish I could